the wonder of this moment, the wonder of being together, so close yet so apart, each listening, each trying to speak, yet none fully understanding, none fully understood. Now, we, each of us, want to be understood by someone, but in a way, we're particular about who we want to do the understanding. And it's that particularness, if that's a word, that leads us to choose the various communities that we belong to. Now, community is a complex thing. It is a fundamental part of being human. Where we belong and how we belong can be the source of much comfort and support, but can also be the cause of much stress and angst. Those of us who are gathered here this morning come to this community here, the one we call the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson, for many different reasons. But whatever our reasons, we are all seeking to understand and to be understood. And we all find comfort and support here. How we go about doing that varies from person to person and occurs on many different levels, because community occurs on many different levels. Now, in his book, The Search to Belong, consultant Joseph Myers discusses the ways in which we experience community. Specifically, he identifies 4 relational spaces in which we all live and belong to a community. These 4 spaces are public, social, personal, and intimate. Public belonging happens when people feel a sense of connection because of an outside influence. For example, I own a Kindle, and so do several other million people. Many of you here follow a particular sports team, and you feel a sense of community with other fans because of it. Boston Red Sox fans in particular feel a bond from their communal suffering, particularly after last night. Social belonging occurs when we share a little bit of ourselves, a snapshot, if you will, with others. This is when we are on our best behavior. You know the first name of the cashier at the shop you go to a lot. Or you feel comfortable asking the receptionist at your doctor's office if she knows of a good cat sitter. Personal belonging means that we share more of ourselves than we would with someone who is merely an acquaintance, but not too much. Think of a friendship you had with someone in college, not a roommate, but a friend. You see them again after many years, you can sort of pick up where you left off. Now, intimate belonging is that level of relation where we allow other people to see the real us, warts and all, and they accept us anyway. Now, there is no hierarchy among these relational spaces, and none is necessarily more valuable than another. Instead, Myers argues that a healthy balance between these spaces is best. In each of these spaces, we connect with other people, and we find that connection significant on some level. And each of us will feel most comfortable at a different level in a different situation. Okay, so what does all of this have to do with our community here? How does this relate to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson? Well, for most of us, being a Unitarian Universalist is a kind of public belonging. We share a certain esprit de corps from being a part of the same minority religion. We are a part of a larger UU movement and its ministry in the wider world. Okay, now I'm going to go on a little bit of a limb here and say that for many of us, especially those of us who are new to UUFC, coming here on a Sunday morning is a form of social belonging. We know the names of many of the people here, and we definitely like to get to know some of them better. Insofar as we attend this fellowship and make a financial donation, we are a part of this fellowship's ministry within the Clemson community, such as our support of Clemson Community Care, the Clemson Child Development Center, and that recent September 11th event at the university. I'm further going to suggest that personal belonging occurs here when we find an area where we are most interested in volunteering. We can volunteer to help teach a religious education class for the children or for the adults, offer to help make the coffee for the social hour on a Sunday morning, or help out with a grounds party on a Saturday. Or, dare I say it, we might volunteer for committee work. Now, for many of us, that's all we really need from our fellowship experience. We volunteer, we come to Sunday services, and we find those services fulfilling or uplifting. We're comfortable there at that level. But many of us also want to go a little further, to get to know other members of the congregation a little bit better and to understand how they think and feel on a deeper level. One way, it's only one way, in which we provide the opportunity to experience this kind of relational space here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson is through something called small group ministry. Small group ministry means lay-led small groups that are intended to deepen and expand the ministry of this congregation. They are not separate from the larger community. They are a way for individuals to relate to the community on a different level. Again, I want to stress that none of these levels of belonging or ministry is more important than another. What is important is that every individual finds the balance between these levels that works best for them. Here at UUFC, we call our small group ministry covenant groups. A covenant group is a gathering of between 8 to 12 people who create, through a covenant, a safe, trusting environment to explore spirituality through deep listening and sharing. These groups are organic. They are not intended to be little clubs. Over time, some members will leave a group, new members will join a group. Sometimes a group will grow so large that its members feel that it would be best to divide into 2 smaller groups. Sometimes the members of the group come to the decision that the group has come to its natural end and it's time to disband. So, and this is my charge for this morning, to tell you the nuts and bolts of covenant groups. Currently, I think we have about 8 covenant groups. I'm not sure about that. We've had some groups that have had a particular focus, such as science and reason, or dream work, but that's most are not that specific. Each group has at least one facilitator, and many of them have a co-facilitator. I myself facilitate the covenant group known as the Sojourners. Facilitators lead opening and closing rituals and assure that all the members have an equal chance to speak. Some groups meet once a month at a member's house. All of them meet once a month. Some meet at a member's house. Most of them meet at Founder's House, which is the building at the other end of the parking lot, for those of you who do not know. Meetings generally last about 2 hours. Snacks and beverages are served. When a new group is formed, the members create a covenant which structures the relationships of the group. For example, what is said in the group is kept confidential. Members will listen deeply and respectfully to one another, and no crosstalk is usually allowed. There are sometimes rules about how often you can attend, etc. Those rules will vary from group to group. Meetings themselves tend to follow a set pattern. A chalice is lit, opening words are read, members check in briefly with what's going on in their lives. But the majority of the time is spent in discussion of a predetermined topic. Each group chooses their own topics, so they can be quite varied. Anything from the concept of gratitude, to father-daughter relationships, to the role of science and religion. We are Unitarian Universalists, after all. We'll talk about anything pretty much as long as you'll let us. But covenant groups are not just discussion groups. They are a smaller part of the larger ministry of this fellowship, one that provides an opportunity for participants to engage in a deeper spiritual exploration or search for meaning, to develop deeper relationships with one another, and to offer and receive a more personalized source of comfort and support for those who seek it. How does someone join such a group, you might ask? Well, once a year we offer a sign-up period, as my husband called it this morning, open enrollment. And it just so happens that it begins this year, today. The Young Adult Covenant Group has provided the refreshments for the social hour following the service, which will be in the social room at the other end of the hall, and representatives from their group and others will be available to answer questions and talk about their own covenant group experiences. If a covenant group sounds like something that might be a good fit for you, please take a moment to go back to the social room, talk with some of the representatives there, and fill out a sign-up sheet. Our covenant group coordinator, Carol Keel, who I believe is still on her adventures across the country right now, will contact you, and she will help guide you to a group. This might be either an existing group or a newly forming one. Remember that these groups, by their nature, are limited in size. Be assured, however, that you won't just be assigned to a group at random. Carol will work very hard to make sure that she puts you in the group that fits best for you. Representatives from these various covenant groups will be here not only this Sunday, but next Sunday, September the 25th, and October the 2nd as well, so we can continue this process for several weeks. And sign-up sheets are also available online at our website, which is www.uufc.org. Before you decide, though, if you'd like to sign up for a covenant group or not, we'd like you to listen to some brief reflections from two individuals from two different groups on their experiences with this smaller part of our larger ministry. However, you're going to have to wait for that until after the offertory.